I'm excited.
Why's that?
We have an apparel sponsor, Parry Athletic. Such good gear, and it's incredible. I've been enjoying it.
Bro, George came through, messaged us on the Instagram, said he's been following our program for ages. He's getting stronger and more mobile, and he's got this cool gear company called Parry, and he wants to send us some stuff.
And he told me that his mission was to create the best pair of training shorts ever.
Yeah, he wanted something that he could lift and roll in, and that could accommodate thick, muscular thighs and hips.
And that suits us.
Speaks to us.
Also, what I like is I love the colorful design. It actually looks really cool.
I am the most colorful dude on the mats these days, hands down.
Yeah, you get that kind of expression feel. A lot of other jiu-jitsu gear is kind of a bit boring.
Yeah, it's all like grays and blacks and shit. This stuff is the color and the vibrancy.
It makes you stand out. And I think the thing that I've loved about it is just it feels good. It feels good. It looks good. And you, ladies and gentlemen, can get a discount when you go to checkout. If you go to parryathletics.com, when you go to checkout, put in the code Bulletproof20 and you get 20% off. Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. I'm JT, and I'm here with the natural Joseph Worthington.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Thanks for joining.
Yo, I'll tell you who's not so natural.
Who dat?
Our boy Rob Wilkinson.
Oh,
He got popped, man.
Razor Rob, Aussie MMA fighter, famousy
PFL champ.
Fought a young Izzy Adesanya in the UFC, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, PFL champion, was looking like he beat Thiago Santos, right? We spoke about it on the show.
Yeah.
And he's got like amazing physique.
Amazing rig.
And I'm like, damn, it's like his rig's just gone to like really, really amazing. Like, he looks good.
Yeah.
Handsome man. He's got the moustache and everything.
Yeah.
And the dude popped for something. Don't know what, but
Like a testosterone-related supplement.
yeah, right.
This is the game, people.
The game, son.
Competing at the top. It's tough.
I'm not mad, by the way.
No,
You know,
I mean,
you're
it's-
a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, but you
you're
see
like,
it.
whatever.
I mean, people still admire Yoel Romero, and I think that guy's been on steroids since he was 12.
Dude, you know, Yoel, what's not spoken about much is how he had that tainted supplement situation.
Yeah.
And he sued them successfully
and
because
made $27 million.
it was proven that it actually was tainted and he wasn't on anything
at that time.
at that time.
Yes, but okay.
I'm just saying.
Yoel Romero.
Genetic
okay,
freaks do exist.
Whatever, enough that. All right. Okay. If any of you are familiar, there's a old comic called Asterix and Obelix. And Asterix is like the little dude, he's the Gaul, and Obelix is this huge mountain of a dude who's kind of fat. Here's the deal. Obelix is a young child within the mythology of this. They're from Gaul, so France. And it's all about the Roman Empire trying to take them over back in whenever it was. You know, it's this fictional comic, but it's kind of funny. The myth is Obelix fell into this vat of magic potion, which their druid made, and he drank the whole thing. So he's not allowed to have any magic potion. Their druid gives the magic potion to all the Gauls so that they can just fight and bash everyone, and they're kind of invincible. And Asterix has to kind of have a little swig of it every time before he goes into battle. Obelix is not allowed to have any because he drank so much of it as a kid, he's now like infallible. Yoel Romero is Obelix. That guy has been part of the Cuban, you know, what do you call it, like athletic program on gear forever. They're like, yo, his bones are built different. Yeah, the dude has so much GH in him. He can like, you could lick him and fail a bloody drug test. You know what I mean? Like, also, if you think of it as an advantage, even though you would never do it, his neck is fused. You know, there's that clip of him.
Oh,
running,
yeah, his like cervical spine does not move.
It doesn't move, right? What an advantage for not getting knocked out. Your neck doesn't move. You hit him and his spine's fused.
Is that an advantage?
Yeah, I mean, it's not an advantage for turning.
I would think, though,
that...
but having the movement would allow you to disperse the shock.
No, not at all. Like, imagine you've just got a concrete rod behind your neck because the snapback, apart from getting hit on the button, the nerves around the jaw, the snapback is also what causes you to be knocked out.
Right.
So every time you hit him, you're hitting like this concrete block, which is his spine. Anyway, needless to say, Yoel Romero has been proven to be enhanced, but he made more money suing.
Has been?
Yeah, he got popped ages ago.
Wait, has it been? I don't know if it has been.
Yeah, he got suspended for 18 months, bro.
But that was over the tainted supplement thing, wasn't it?
Not the tainted supplement thing. It was prior to that.
Check this shit
All
out.
right, search it. That's fine.
I'll find out before we start making outlandish claims
Bro,
about
I'm
my
not,
boy
oh
Yoel.
yeah, oh Yoel Romero's not on testosterone. That's outlandish. Off,
You're the person who's like, that guy's got big muscles. He's on juice.
bro.
They're pointing at you, bro.
I got big muscles. I am not on juice, man. Whatever. People just don't know how to do it right. You just got to eat that steak, take that creatine, and lift those weights for 20 years. He was suspended for 18 months prior to that, I'm pretty sure. Joey's now trying to bring the facts, but we'll see.
Well, I'm just trying to, find out. I'm interested to know. 'Cause I like to think that there's outliers out there. I'm like, oh yeah.
No, I don't believe in outliers. F that.
I mean, there are absolutely outliers, particularly in that part of the world, because the big part of what got Africans to that part of the world was this long, arduous boat trip, and a lot of the folks that were not. This is I've read this in a thing.
I'm not going into this. That's okay. Sure.
Folks that,
let's
you
stay
know-
on Yoel Romero. Let's stay.
But that's
on
what I'm saying. A lot of people died, right?
What have you found? What have you
A lot of
found?
people
Yoel
died on these
Romero,
boat trips.
Did he get suspended?
The ones
prior
that
to
had the strongest constitution for whatever reason made it, and then that were the people that would inhabit these lands and become the superior genetic line that we see today. His freaky athleticism. Back in 2016, he tested positive for ibutamorin, a growth hormone, and USADA suspended him for 6 months. However, he vehemently denied the claim, saying he did not take the substance intentionally. Later, ibutamorin was found in his supplement, a product made by Gold Star Performance Product. He sued the company in a lawsuit worth $27.45 million.
27 million.
The Cuban has a chiseled body that seems too good to be purely natural. Yes, it does. It is important to note, however, that he has been competing for decades and is also a former Olympian.
We could also look at the history of
is-
the Cuban Olympic program.
He
to
was
note that
also
they've
in the USADA
produced
testing
as
pool.
many positive athletes as there's ever been.
4 years, but never popped for anything on the agency's radar.
Let's have a look at the history of the Cuban.
Well, that's fine, but we can't. He's never popped. Like he never tested positive beyond that thing, which was.
it's like saying, "Oh, you're out of the Russian wrestling system."
I'm just saying, but you were
And
like,
they-
but you were
also
like, but he
proven-
has tested positive at another time. That's a fact.
I'm pretty sure he
that
was.
is not a
That's
fact.
one
That
article.
is
Okay,
incorrect.
Let me come. It's not incorrect.
Factually.
No, that's one thing that you cited. Let me come back to
Do
you.
we go to another website?
No, I want to do a fucking podcast about other stuff
I think
today.
the guys are holding their breath.
No, I don't think they are.
I'll come back.
Oh no, I will.
JT, how'd you go with that? I'll follow up next week for you guys.
No, it's fine. There is other stuff. We weren't going to talk about Yoel Romero. What I'd say is this: like, if you can have a look at
It's okay.
the history of sports. No, it's not. It's not okay, Joe. If we can look at the history of sports, anything, and we look at Icarus, for example, and we look at any of the athletes that have come out of Russia in the last 30 years, if you have a systematic approach to doping your athletes, and if we have a look at other athletes from Cuba who've popped, like there's a lot of them, whether it's boxing, weightlifting, or wrestling. So if systemically a country has a problem with giving its athletes drugs or programs doing that, then you could say, well, you came out of that system. That's interesting. It wouldn't be
Highly probable.
a stretch to say, oh, funny, you guys didn't do any drug testing during that time, which is very formidable for you to come up as an athlete. Yoel Romero came up under that program. Anyway, not to worry. It's all good. People do drugs. Don't do drugs, kids. Let's talk about other interesting things that are out there in the world of jiu-jitsu. We're talking about Zuck versus Elon.
Does anyone care?
No, I think people do who are not in the fight game.
I mean, it is kind of.
It's got people talking who wouldn't normally talk about it.
Zuckerberg just looks like a f***ing avatar. He never blinks. His complexion is so. You know what? I'm excited. I'm excited for Zuck to go from this sort of avatar-esque AI-looking thing with perfect complexion, the Caesar kind of, or not the Augustian haircut that he has, the never blinking, to Gordon Ryan face, just wrinkled, jacked, aged, like well beyond its years. You know, attached to this body that's just a rig from hell. I'm excited for him for that.
You want to see the steroid journey of Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, and just Zuckerberg like jiu-jitsu changed my life, and it's just like those Troy McClure wrinkles and you know, like
face, cauliflower ears.
Oh yeah,
Look, I don't think the fight's going to happen. I think Elon's going to find a wriggle out.
it's not fucking like
You know what I mean? Like he's worth too much money. Him getting punched in the head is not going to help him solve interplanetary, travel. And also he doesn't train.
Interplanetary capitalism.
Capitalism, that's right. But he's not, he's going to put self-driving cars on Mars. Look, Zuckerberg's training with Mikey Musumeci. He's training with Mr. Never Smiles.
Who that? Lex.
Lex Friedman, right?
Yeah.
And Lex Friedman is super legit. Judo black belt, jiu-jitsu black belt, also a bit of a psychopath.
Tested positive. Look it up.
Trains at B-Team. Probably.
Doesn't he train at New Wave?
He trains at both.
Oh.
He's got a bit of immunity because he's
okay.
famous. They love him.
Okay, he's Switzerland.
He is the Switzerland of Texas. So funny. If you're famous enough, you do whatever you want.
That's great.
The great thing about this is it's bringing MMA and jiu-jitsu into the minds of people who would be thinking about golf, tennis, maybe boxing if
Do
you're
we want
lucky.
them?
Yes. We want them all. I like to think there's a world where everybody does jiu-jitsu and that most HR disputes could be settled with a cage fight or a no limit submission-only match.
Right on.
Because then you would talk a lot less shit. You wouldn't be sending passive-aggressive emails to John because John's a brown belt savage. And even though he might be the lowly guy in the organization, listen here, Karen from HR, you need to chill. Because that's the thing. There's no repercussions for so much.
But wait, you want like the executive team of scumbags? What if they're all the highly ranked jits players, and then you got the hard workers down below? They just got to work all the time. They don't have enough time to train.
No.
But the executives are always kicking their ass.
No, but I don't think that's true. I think jiu-jitsu is it levels the playing field because you can see it. For example, Tynan Dalpro, he is Mr. Blessed, right? Mr. Untouchable, lost to Jensen Gomez, who is young kid favela, right? They're almost the same age. They've followed a similar track in terms of dedicating their lives to jiu-jitsu, but one is the rich boy who lives in California and one still lives in the favela. That guy prevailed. We've seen it before. Doctors and lawyers training with street sweepers, but the street sweepers are better at jiu-jitsu. I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but it's this idea
Okay,
that
yeah, level playing
the
field.
mat is the level playing field. What are your skills? What are your toughness? Do you think the executives are going to be tougher than the lower level guys?
Well,
No.
I'm saying maybe if they started 10 years before, they're going to have an advantage.
Potentially. But
Joey gets onto that fucking board. It's over for you foot soldiers.
No, but what I wanted to say is like, could we not imagine that if everyone trained jiu-jitsu, like literally everyone had to train Brazilian jiu-jitsu, there would be a different approach to how the world exists.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is Elon versus Zuckerberg, it doesn't really fucking matter. It's probably not going to happen. I still have $100 on Zuckerberg to win by submission.
Yeah, you look at it, you're like, man, he moves well. He's competed.
He's training.
Yeah, he's training like he's doing the thing.
He's training with the best. So
Yeah.
you got to say he's put some time in. And, whatever. Elon Musk is fat and just doesn't look after his body. He doesn't train. He admits his only training he does is lifting up his kids off the ground.
Right on.
Probably going to herniate a disc. Ultimately, the upside is this, my friends. More people talking about MMA, more people talking about jiu-jitsu. I think that is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, question time.
All right, we've got some questions come through. Now, these questions have come through on our website. So if you want to leave one for us, you go to bulletproof4bjj.com, hit the podcast tab, and you can just record a voicemail right there. Just got to get through these pictures of Yoel Romero that are popping up.
Just him sprinting.
Natty King, Joey recognizes another Natty King.
Oh, my God.
All right, here we go.
Hey, it's Nathan. I'm the same guy that pesters you about not wearing a hat constantly. I've done a couple of competitions now. I'm a one-stripe white belt, been training for 9-10 months. Don't think you've done an episode about competition, which would be cool, but I wanted to ask you guys about the mentality of competing. So whether you think it's optimal to be aggressive or calm or flow. Would like to hear your thoughts. Cheers.
We have done that one.
Thanks, Nathan. Have we done that one?
We have.
No, I don't think we have. It was only 2 weeks ago, but we've spoken about comp.
We said we have different approaches to that.
Yeah, okay. JT's more aggressive. I'm more passive. Choose what works for you. What's with the hat thing?
Oh, because I always wear a hat in every video. And it's like sometimes you wear a hat or a beanie and sometimes you don't. And he always puts in the comments, because we had talked about your luscious hair and hair products, he put in the comments, hey man, what's going on with JT's hair? You know what I mean? And you know,
Right.
because I'm always wearing a hat. But it's a branding opportunity, people. Imagine your logo here. No, it's already taken. Sorry. It's a shtick.
Shut up, para-athletics.
Para-athletics. But no, funny thing, I was doing a judo stand with these kids, and I was wearing a hat all day, and these young kids are like 8 years old. Come up, hey man, could you take off your hat? And I was like, why? Oh, we've got a bet. And I was like, okay. So I took my hat off. He's like, you owe me $5. And he was like, why? He thought you were bald. I said you had hair. I win, sucked in. And I was like, these kids, man. Hilarious. Not bald, by the way. But
Savages. But yeah, if you're an aggressive person, that fuels you. Ramp up. Do that thing like JT. If you're not an aggressive person like me, don't try and be that person. I don't think that works. Be what makes you feel comfortable. And then ultimately on the mats, like, do what you got to do.
exactly. You got to
Find your energy.
Energy efficient.
All right, next one. Roscoe.
Hey guys, love the podcast. I've listened to.
Dropped out. Oh, that's not good.
So my question is, I've just signed up for my first no gi competition in August. So it's the Brisbane Grappling Industries one. It will be in seniors, just turned 40 this year. Diabetic is my only condition, but basically the question is the three main things to go into and prepare for my first competition. Currently 3-stripe white belt and sitting at about 90 kilos. Keep up the good work, guys. Always listening to you. Champions.
Champion. Thanks, Roscoe.
Much love, Roscoe.
Shout out to the Queensland fam.
Look, I
What's
think
your three?
the diabetic thing is definitely a consideration, right? Blood sugar levels when you're competing is a bit of a thing.
Right.
If you can currently do like 3 5-minute rounds, like if you're a white belt and you're going into your comp, and you're okay with that, you're managing that pretty well. Hydration is number one. Snacks on the day, maintaining the blood sugar levels, and then kind of what we touched on before about like, are you more of a hype beast? Are you more calm? It's good to make sure that you have your strategy, like you have a plan coming in, and that you're going to go in there. Don't do anything. We've talked about this before. Don't do anything too weird. Don't be like, it's a comp. I better go mental. You know, I better hype up real hard, or I better do my diet really differently.
Better start lifting. It's 4 weeks before the comp.
Yeah, got to get jacked for the comp. No. So the three things I always focus on, any advice I give anyone coming into their first competition, number one is hydration. So don't try and cut weight and go to a lower category, whatever. Number two is like maintaining that blood sugar level. So obviously very important if you're if you have diabetes or any other conditions. And then number three is the strategy and mental clarity piece, whether that requires you to dial up or dial down.
It's your first comp.
Yeah.
Man, you know, you're probably going to do a lot. And, you know, whatever, maybe you don't, but you should look at it as like you're really testing the waters for the very first time. Yeah. So I wouldn't put too much pressure on myself in that situation at all, because you're going to be, there's so much shit you're going to learn from that experience. You're like, oh man, it was like your opponent's going to feel really strong. You're probably going to feel really weak.
Your grips are going to gas out.
Yeah, the shit that you thought was going to work is just not going to work. Like, this is competition. You're going to be way more nervous than you thought you were. Afterwards, you're going to be way happier than you thought you were.
Yep.
So just allow yourself to experience that. And to JT's point, don't do anything new. Don't try to cut weight. Just enter a division that you can comfortably get into so that you can focus just on showing up on the day and doing the best.
Yep, 100%.
Philip.
Hey guys, this is Philip speaking from Germany. I'm going on a world trip for sabbatical, so for 9 months traveling across the world. I'm going to miss some BJJ classes, obviously, and maybe you guys have an idea or maybe some tips how to approach gyms, find good gyms across the world, and maybe stay fit also in tiny apartments, and maybe what I can do to maybe sort of keep in level of jiu-jitsu and the fitness level. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for the content. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
Philip, what a legend.
Much love. Shout out Germany.
Exciting to be traveling around the world.
Yeah, it's so good. I think traveling and training is easier now than it's ever been, just because there's so many gyms everywhere you go.
Everyone's on the internet.
And I think we've talked about this before, relevant to the whole gym culture thing, is what you can do is go to a gym's website, kind of suss out their timetable. Is there somewhere where you can jump in? open mats are often good because it's less formal, so you can kind of rock in. You're not necessarily going to learn anything. You might, but the other thing you can do to kind of double up, like double check, is do they have an Instagram? Do they have a social group? Do they have a Facebook group?
Yeah.
Does this look like a friendly place? Is this...
They might even have a podcast or some shit.
Yeah, you never know. So I think the double check. What do you do, Joey, when you're kind of trying to suss out a gym when you're traveling?
Website and Instagram. And I mean, still, like, I've hit up heaps of gyms on Instagram and it takes them a week to get back to me.
Forever.
You know, and then whatever, they're just not active on it. But yeah, some gyms are pretty loose in how they're kind of managing, like, or making themselves available to outsiders. But I would go, all right, which city am I going to? What are the gyms? I'd search that on Google, and then I'd like send out a few emails or DMs on Instagram, and see what comes back. And you're going to hear from someone. And usually the gym that's like, oh, hey man, yeah, we love visitors, like, come along, like, blah, and they make it easy for you. That's probably the one where you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, and my travel hack is go no gi. Me personally, I've tried to do the gi travel thing, and there's two huge elements, which is the laundry. So it depends on what country you're in. Laundry can be a real bitch, relevant to just getting your gi in order, and it's also, you know, you got travel weight and all of that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just taking lycra, you're just taking a couple of rashies, spats, shorts, happy days.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm traveling, I usually just keep it to the no gi stuff.
When I was blue belt,
Yeah.
I don't think that was really a thing back then. Like, no-gi wasn't big enough, was it?
But I think it's different now.
It's different now.
Definitely. Most gyms will offer no-gi. And also MMA gyms offer more no-gi.
They do.
So that's more prevalent.
I would say too, like, integrate the training with your travel. So go like, depending like what the context of your trip is, are you with someone else? Are you just by yourself? But like, say you're going to a town and you're going to be there for 5 days.
Yep.
Book in to go to a different gym on like 2 different days.
Yep.
And you're probably going to have to travel a little bit, like on a bus or ride a bike or whatever to get there. Make that's part of the day. You're traveling to a new part of town. You're going to, even if you are training in the gi and you got to find a laundry, that's part of the trip. I remember being in Rio, having this cool kind of back and forth with the women at the laundry that I'd go to.
Yep.
Because I couldn't speak much Portuguese and they laughed at me and they thought I was a nice guy and they were very lovely.
Yep.
And it was like part of the trip.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have that time, like, make that part of the thing, because that's you seeing a new space and connecting with people.
Yeah.
You might not have that time, and it might be more like, all right, I just got to get to a place and get the fuck out, in which case, you know, make it as efficient as you need to. And
relevant to the strength training piece, this is what I would say. Pair of rings. It's not too heavy. You can slot it into your suitcase. It's probably, you know, half a kilo, if that. A pair of Olympic rings, they're pretty cheap. You get them online. And then also a couple of bands.
Yeah.
That's what I was using when I was in Rio. Because, like, when I was training over there, I paid for a gym when I was in Sao Paulo, but they have chin-up bars everywhere. But what you can do is you can attach the band to any which point to do rows and pulls and presses, and then rings.
To the bunk bed of your hostel.
Yeah, wherever you might be staying. I don't know how baller you're going with it, Philip. But basically, if you can find a horizontal surface somewhere and you're not feeling too self-conscious, you can sling those rings up, and you can do so much with that. And I think we've got a few videos on similar things relevant to that.
Dude, on our YouTube. But we've even got our Living Room Warrior program, which is designed, if you're in a hotel room or like a small apartment, jump on that, man. It's there. It's on the app. Log in. It gives you a bunch of different programs. You can, like different workouts that are designed for no equipment and minimal space.
Minimal stuff.
All right, last one here.
Lucky last.
Hey guys, love the podcast. My name is Dalton. I'm actually from the States, and I've been listening to it as a former college wrestler. I wrestled on the senior circuit for a little bit, which is kind of like our largest circuit. And I've recently got back into BJJ. I had been introduced at the end of college, and I've now got back into it. So anywho, I am now a wrestling coach at a jiu-jitsu gym, a wrestling coach for the school that I teach at also. And I like to implement a lot of the what I consider takedown game and the wrestling neutral game, as we call it, to my jiu-jitsu. A lot of times I get a lot of hate for doing that. Because people say, oh, well, you're only doing that because you're a wrestler. But in the most humble way possible, I also put myself in some scenarios that are probably not the best because I'm a wrestler. But also at the same time, I find it to be a very good approach to learning jiu-jitsu. I guess my question, wrapping that up for you guys, after a long introduction, is what do you guys feel about jiu-jitsu purists learning wrestling? Do you think it's important for them to learn some basics for wrestling in order to continue to achieve higher levels of jiu-jitsu? Thanks.
Dalton, legend.
Yeah.
Man, look, yeah, I think if we're looking at like jiu-jitsu on the whole, yeah, you gotta be comfortable with some stand-up stuff.
Yeah.
Personally, I like double legs are not a thing for me anymore. Like I'm just like I've never been able to give them enough time to be effective with them.
Sure.
But but still need to know how they work. Yeah. Singles, like a lot of the other, just the wrestling positioning, snap downs, head control, arm drags, I think that shit is so important.
Yeah.
But where the dilemma is if you are a gi jiu-jitsu purist,
Yes.
it just isn't very important.
Oh.
From a competition perspective, because the point system doesn't really reward it that much.
Sure. No, but I think probably speaking to our man's question, do we think it's important for jiu-jitsu purists to do wrestling? Yeah, and I think this idea of jiu-jitsu purity is bullshit. We just got to look at it as grappling. Like, if you train judo and you understand foot sweeps and timing and the finer points of judo, it's going to help you gi or no gi. Like, those different things that you learn there. In the same way, like if someone's trained Greco instead of freestyle wrestling, they're going to have slightly different takedowns, but it's going to work in that way. I think if we look at it more broadly and say it's grappling, what's effective, one of the best things you can do is put your opponent where they suck. So if you're really good at wrestling and they're not, taking them down and not going where they want to be is a good way to go. And like you said, you might put yourself in bad positions being a wrestler, but I think it's this idea of not being open to new knowledge. So you're like, no, this is my corner and I stay in this corner. Like the meme, which is the little pink bubble in a box, and the box is jiu-jitsu, and it's like, I do grappling, I'll do MMA, and then it like, punch in the face, I'm going to stay in my box. I think is that most people are used to having success with whatever their game is, and then it just sucks so bad to then step outside of that and then just get owned by someone like you who's like, whatever, you're a school teacher, but you're also a wrestling savage.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, what's with that gym instructor? Boom, 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 taking people down left, right, and center.
Corn fed.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. Like, I personally look at it like this. Like, I held my jiu-jitsu back by only just playing guard for 7 years. It's only once I started to do more stand-up and top game that I felt my jiu-jitsu kind of started to grow. And so I would say, man, stay on track with what you're doing. You're doing good things. And those jiu-jitsu Puritans, tell them they're pussies and tell them to stand up. Like, it's one of those things that, like, we all need to go to that place where we suck. And then maybe you yourself for development, you need to learn how to play some guard as well. And that will make you a much more dangerous guy.
As a coach, one of the things that you got to be good at, and maybe this is where you're running into like a bit of a problem with some of the purists, as you put it, is you've got to be able to get their emotional buy-in to the thing that you're training. Right? This happens every time in the gym, teaching strength and mobility and stuff. You need to be able to explain to someone why this is relevant to them. And so in jiu-jitsu terms, like, it's very easy. Hey guys, today we're doing this because it's a jiu-jitsu technique. And most of the people in the room are like, sweet, I do jiu-jitsu, like that's relevant. But when you're like, hey, I'm going to teach you guys how to do, whatever, double leg. It's very easy for people like, well, this isn't, why do I need this kind of thing? And it's hard and I suck at it, right? All of that stuff later on. So I think you need to be really good at telling them like, hey, take yourself away from maybe learning another technique that just falls into the game that you already play, and sell them on the idea of why it's really important they learn this shit that they suck at. And conceptually how they see themselves. Is it like, do you want to know that you have the ability to destroy anyone? Or do you just want to be someone that's going to pull guard on the street and get your head stomped?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Are you trying to be a warrior, or are you trying to just be good at competition jiu-jitsu? And I would think most people are like, well, I want to be a savage. Like, I want to be a warrior.
Yeah.
It's okay, well, you got to learn some fucking takedowns.
Ultimately, you sound like a nice guy. You might not be a nice guy to roll, but
I mean, pretty much not going to be, right? If you got wrestling, like every jiu-jitsu purist is going to hate you because you give them a hard time.
Yeah, that's right. But I think,
but that's good for them.
Definitely. And I think what you're doing is a good thing. and don't stress too much. Definitely, I believe that the new generation of grapplers wants to learn how to wrestle.
Yeah.
So if the person's not your customer, just double leg them, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, your people are out there, right?
For sure they are.
Like wrestling coaches surely are in high. Where I think the wrestling coach really makes himself exceptional in this current jiu-jitsu climate is when they can take what's relevant from wrestling and apply it in a jiu-jitsu context. Not just, I'm going to teach you wrestling like I learned it. Like, no, you got to be able to select the shit that's going to be relevant that they can see goes into their game, right?
Definitely.
That's it for the questions. If you want to leave us one, go to our website, bulletproof4bjj.com, hit the podcast tab, leave us a voicemail, and we'll feature you on the next bout of questions. Cheers, brah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the questions. We'll catch you next time.